Welcome to the Jungle Brothers podcast. It's Joey here, and today I'm joined by Paul and Dills to talk about what it's like to manage a gym like Jungle Botany. Pass it on to my editing team, bro. Paul Retainer.
It's bulletproof rent. Jules is paying the bulletproof rent with his phone.
Can you turn mine up, Joe?
Yeah, coming up. Tell me how that sounds coming up.
Yep.
Good there?
Good, thanks.
So you guys are going to start a podcast.
Yes.
This is the public declaration of it right now.
Ooh.
No, we're thinking about it.
Yeah.
We want to, but we need it.
I thought it was going to be a blog. Let's fucking do something.
We want a botany-centric one because it's fucking fantastic that you're still doing the JBs, the Jungle Brothers one, but people want to know what's happening here. Too quiet there.
Yeah. Sorry, I was trying to find mine.
No,
Yeah.
it's just that I respect the podcast so much that I don't want to start it and fuck it up and not be able to sustain it.
That's the whole shit, isn't it?
Yeah, just how many years have we burned ourselves starting shit and not being able, and fucking, just not being able to service it.
But I think it's a necessity. There's a place and the people want it, right? Like even if we talk about doing a blog and all this other stuff, this services all of that. The podcast is a blog in a sense, right? Like you're still talking about a topic, you're still discussing something that's of interest to the people on the floor, and it gives us a way to communicate to our people about the things that they want to know about without having to have 100 conversations a week.
Yeah, but it's harder than a blog too, right?
Yeah.
Like, and arguably a blog you can do the same thing, but it's a video into the group each week that does the same thing. It's just like what medium works.
Yeah.
Which is really the mark shit. Almost not my coffee. It's the marketing question, isn't it? It's like there's all the different channels. Which ones are you going to go with?
I think, and I only mentioned the podcast recently because I have thought about that, and I believe it is the podcast. For both sides of the table, for consumers and for our time in the week, it's the most powerful and potent. I just want to have a complete admin team in an ideal way that we don't have to do anything. We just come and talk and have the
Paulie,
ideas.
yeah, we're just the talent, and everyone else takes the responsibility.
Well, there's going to be stuff to do, but if just all the button pressing and stuff, we've done that before for ages, and you do parts of that now, Joe, and it's time consuming, and we got all the other stuff that we're doing at the same time. Damn it!
But it's like I just set up email software for the Alliance, and I'm going to do a weekly blog, and that blog will go out as a newsletter, and I'll also link to the podcast in that newsletter. So I'm like making better use of the content that we're creating on the show, right? But the gym already has the newsletter system in place. It already has the email list. It's kind of, everything's sort of already there. You've already got Instagram going. You're already posting on it every day. So actually, you just got to do an episode and edit it, which I've found a really quick way to do that. This fucking desk is unbelievable. Like you hardly have to do anything. You're in a very good position to do it in a real simple, express way.
And it streamlines the other stuff too, because what I found when I was doing the 5-minute fry in the end was that is your IG post. And if we're doing a podcast, that's the podcast episode for the week. It's like, oh, what's the topic we're speaking about? Oh, what did I just write about? Obviously, that's important right now. You're getting the message across to different people who absorb it through the different medias so you don't miss anyone.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. What would you call it?
Jungle Botany, right?
I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. You got an opportunity to come up with something fun.
Something cool.
Yeah, I think
it's a show. Like the Bulletproof one's called Bulletproof. I'm like, that's a bit boring. We could actually come up with something better for that. But,
Yeah.
Henched. Yeah.
That'd be a good Bulletproof one.
Like I was looking for a pod. I mean, it depends on the purpose too, doesn't it? I was looking for a podcast the other day. I was like, I wanted to learn some shit about email automations. So I was like, email marketing automations. And then it was like popped up with a bunch of podcasts, right? But the top one I saw was like email automation secrets. I'm like, fuck yeah, that's the one I want. If that guy had have called it something like Jungle Brothers, that doesn't really speak to the context of the thing. But it's, whatever. You're not trying to be searchable to the entire internet. Trying to talk to the peoples.
Yeah, no, I'm fucking keen as. Should work that out. Could be, yeah, you'll come up with a fucking sick name.
I'll start thinking on
Or
it.
Joey. Joey just pops into his head. You're good at giving nicknames. You always have been. You and Peaches. You just see someone go, this is his nickname. And you're like, fucking spot on.
Beanhead.
Yeah, that's only shit. You're like, oh my God.
Daily, he
He's
was
so
savage.
right. He came in yesterday.
Did he?
Yeah.
Right on. How's he
Dropped
doing?
by. He was good.
Yeah.
He just had a 6-week trip to Mexico and Cali with
For
the family.
for work?
Holiday.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
Yeah. But he came in and met everyone here for a bit.
That's old friend from the film industry, for a bit of context for the listeners.
Oh, we on?
Yeah, we're on.
We're always
We're
on.
sipping Panavore coffee today. We're back. The sponsorship has resumed.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't mentioned it for so long because we just fell out of the habit of drinking coffee during the episode. Part of that was because T went away and then the podcast got a little bit kind of haphazard. But then the other side of it was we started recording later in the day. I think we started recording at 1 o'clock and it just was too late to get super caffeinated. So anyway, we pulled it back to 11:15 start time where it feels more appropriate to hit the black gold. And so today we're back on the home brew. Big props to Tree. If you haven't been to Panavore, it's our local cafe in Pagewood. Please go there, get yourself a black coffee and a Joey sandwich.
Only black coffee, because anything else, black is the way to go.
But they do, I mean, it's true. I don't mind a milky coffee in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Going to put that out there. But theirs are exceptional. So I would say whatever coffee you like.
Is going to be off
Yeah.
the radar.
But you're a black guy exclusively?
Exclusively, yeah, no milk, please.
Right on.
The black guy over here likes white.
White. Yeah.
I'll drink black coffee too, but my regular is a flash white.
Strong flat white.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Latino vibe.
Yeah, a little bit like that.
We're talking about, I wanted to chat today about you guys running the gym, and and I kind of wanted to just zero in on a few sort of key parts about what the reality is of running a gym, and maybe how, you know, looking at Dylan, who's sort of fresher to the game as a coach and whatnot, maybe where your expectations were different to what the actual reality of it has been.
Yep.
I'm kind of thinking of someone that's running a gym or thinking about one day running a gym and sort of like, what sort of words of warning or, you know, what sort of prep can we give you? Could you guys tell me like how the split works between you two and, you know, who's the manager, who's the whatever?
Yeah.
Give us that background.
So
Who's the daddy?
Oof.
No.
It's a beautiful gay marriage. There's two daddies. Paul's just staring at me now.
Coming over for a bear hug.
Well, I might have exchanged a couple of bro jobs at the Christmas party, but I'm not gay. Hey, Dills, do me a favor, go more into the end of the mic, would you?
Yep.
Legend.
How's that better?
Yeah, good. You'll come through a bit hip hop there.
Cool. Yeah, no, the roles are split. They used to be probably split heavier in my direction, whereas since I got back from the honeymoon, we've made some changes, and it's probably now split heavier in Paul's direction. He's come on board, taken a few things off my shoulders, and stepped up to the plate.
Stepped up to the plate. I like that.
Yeah.
Paul is finally starting to pull his weight, is what I'm picking up between the lines there.
Yeah, I mean, I played it smart, really. So it's changed recently.
Yep.
But I don't know if it's that heavy. Like on paper, you've still got shitloads to do,
Yeah.
you know, and I guess in small business, there's never not something to do. There's always something that you could be doing better or different or looking into this or that. It's just about just evening up how much time we're committed to doing that thing.
Yep.
And you could say that, yeah, all the hats are important. Like the simplest one, keeping the gym floor clean, you could fucking go to town on that and just really elevate that. Just because one's doing a kind of general manager role doesn't mean that, you know, they're all part of the same thing. But yeah, I guess it has shifted a little bit. Dylan used to, or for a long time, he took on that role of the voice of the tribe, which is what we call it. Which means that he's writing the 5 Minute Friday emails. He's on the Instagram as well. Tied into that is just being the main communicator for all things that are going on in the gym. He'd also hold the calendar of events, and he would hold that. Obviously, we work together on everything, but that kind of responsibility fell with him last, and there's quite a lot tied into that. What else is there involved?
Yeah, the big thing is, like Paulie was saying, it's just the communication to everyone about everything that's happening there. And it really is time consuming because you're talking about like the Instagram alone, like Paul was saying, you can dive deep on that and that can take up, I mean, most businesses, when they get big business, they have someone who just does that. So you're doing that. And then you're writing a blog every week with the 5 Minute Friday. And then you've got to make sure that there's posters for the events coming up. And you've got to make sure all the coaches knows what's happening with those events and what the standard is. So it definitely builds up.
Yeah. So I guess that, with that role, there's a lot of worrying or just anticipating what's going on, which, just takes up just kind of mental credit in your brain. So I've taken that on. I'm otherwise the general manager role. That's my main title, I suppose.
Yep.
And for Dylan would be gym manager, right?
Yeah, which means that Paulie is in charge of that voice of the tribe and the bigger picture of botany as a whole. So like, what's the direction we're heading? What are the changes we want to make? What are we trying to do for our tribe? And then I'm in charge of the floor and making sure that that greater vision is being shown through the day-to-day runnings of the gym.
Right on.
Yeah.
So if we simmer that back then, Paulie, for Paul, it's kind of like strategy, marketing,
Yep.
Correct.
and sort of direction.
Yep.
And then Dills, you're kind of like operations, like making sure that the things that need to happen relevant to those are playing out. You're doing sales, you're doing coaches, dev, all that stuff.
Exactly.
That's a good split. That makes a lot of sense.
It's actually like we've tried a lot of different variations of this, and so far I think this is the smoothest. It's working well.
Yeah, we've
enjoying it.
Yeah, since we started being the duo here, we've probably switched. Maybe this is our third time.
Yeah,
and I think that's always been good. We always kind of review at some point the roles, whether it's 6 monthly or whatever it's kind of worked out to be. But yeah, it's been good that you've been able to, in the past, to say, hey, can we review this? Because, it's not quite working. And this time myself, while you were away, I had a lot of thinking and, we reviewed it upon his return. I think that's always important because, shit changes.
And you fall
Things
into the
come to
habit
light.
of just doing what you got to do because it needs to be done. And if you don't question like, oh, does it need to be done? Or is this the most efficient way to do it? Or am I just doing it because I know it's got to get done?
Yeah. Yeah, there's that. Also, too, like the tasks which you touched on before are like they're never ending. There's always work to be done. So whatever time you have will just be filled with tasks. And I can, I think looking back, say prior to Dills coming on in management and when it was you, me and T, we were all equally busy when there was three of us. And it's because you just create new tasks.
Correct.
You're like, you know what what needs. I fucking do this.
Should start a podcast.
Yeah, like T when T became the money mitigator, and he would be the money mitigator in his like Monday money mitigator report, and it was like.
What is that? Like, what is
so
that?
That was so it was an important role.
Yeah.
He was in charge of analyzing our expenses and looking at where we could cut back because we were. But really, it's like, well, that should just fall on whoever's doing accounts or finance. And it's not like the money mitigator shouldn't actually be a role that it's just part of doing the financial report.
So true.
You just look at the bank account. Okay, we don't need that. Hey, guys, we're shutting this shit down. Done.
Because I remember, what was that series called with the Dragon Lady? That was so big a few years ago. Dragon Lady, fucking Game of Thrones. I started calling him the mitigation sparrow. And so he was the sparrow.
He was a sparrow.
Yeah. He just came in with the cross and was like, you think you can spend that? No.
But yeah, like that's what you do, right?
Yeah.
And I remember too, like I'd be in charge of marketing and instead of, you coming up with a campaign or something, instead of I've got 60 minutes to create this campaign today and then I got 60 minutes on Thursday to put it out there, it's like, all right, this week I'm working on the campaign. So I think there's a real lesson in that, like not letting those jobs blow out to something that is disproportionate to the actual scale of the business.
Yeah.
I think that, looking at the gym and looking at us over the years and there's always we've always been like navigating those waters and sort of learning from those.
Yeah. When you look back at it, God, Yeah, we've come a long way. I know personally I've come a long way. I definitely dote on something or spend way too much time on something, and I really had to work to get that perfectionist thing out of me and look at it, go, man, it needs to be done by this time, or 80%, and get it out there, because it doesn't matter as much as you might think.
The deadline.
Yeah, it's getting it done is more important, and that was really hard for me to let go of for years. But yeah, it's a skill.
And I think a big part of that is having business partners too. And I'm sure you guys can talk about this when there was the three of you as well, right? But there's so many times where I'll be doing a task and I've told Paulie I'll get it done by a time. And I'm like, well, fuck, now I've got to get it done by that time, because it's not just me that's accountable for it. It's the whole business, and I've made a commitment, so I've got to make that commitment happen.
It's true, but, I think the business partners alone aren't enough. There has to be that hardcore accountability,
Yeah.
doesn't there? Because it's very easy to show up to your weekly meeting and be like, hey, I know I said I'd have this done, but I didn't, because I actually want to spend a bit more time on it. And most of the time, the business partner is going to go, oh, I get it, man, that's cool, But actually, you probably need to hear, no, dude, it's fucking due today. I don't just get it done, in a way, because they're like, all right, I'm talking shit right now. Yeah, I think that's really important. And it's hard. It's hard to speak to someone in that way. I mean, we fucked around like that for a long time.
So long. That's why I'm looking at you blankly, going back to those memories. But it's true, I think that, the weekly meetings, like I still maintain that as kind of one thing that we overlook the importance of, which is that structure to me as a general manager. Like, it's the one process that put in straight away has so much power, because a lot of people just don't have meeting times and stuff like that. But yeah, like you said, inside of it, that meeting, you need to have that hardcore accountability. And I think over time we've learned that inside of those meetings, the reports really help with that.
Yeah.
Having numbers, hard numbers, the right numbers, and then a realistic idea of where they fucking should be and where they shouldn't be. Because that's the bottom line that we've, come to realize over time.
Yeah, the math don't lie.
Yeah, numbers are the king.
Mm-hmm.
Still don't live by it, but getting closer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me then on the sort of, and this is I guess I'll direct this at you, Dills, because you are fresher into being a leader of this business. What's challenged maybe your expectations in terms of what's actually important about running a gym?
Well, as you might have gathered from that last discussion, that last little bit we were going on about, how little of the job is actually coaching, right? Like, obviously we're still all coaching every day. We're still seeing people. We're still getting a lot of movement in, but the amount of time that's taken up by the other sides of the job and how important they are, and how coaching is almost like the reward for you doing a good job at everything else that you're doing. Definitely not something I realized was going to be the case when I first stepped into it.
Tell me more on that. Like, you thought that, did you kind of paint the picture of what you thought it might be like? Was there a lot of training involved?
Yeah, there was a lot of training. Well, here's the thing, right? Like, I had blurred concepts to begin with, because one, I started this during COVID, right? So I was training 6 to 8 hours a day, and I'm like, oh yeah, this
You're
is
doing
fine.
6 to 8 hours a day?
Yeah, Edo, man.
Fucking guy.
Edo at that time, right? And then I'm like, well, I can just train all day, and then I've still got like 6 hours to work because I don't have anything else to do. I can't leave the house, can't go out. Anna's home anyway, so it's fine. I'm spending time with her. It's all good. So I was like, okay, cool. It's coach 2-3 hours, then I'll train, do what I've got to do. Then it's a little bit of time for admin, and then I'm done. Because obviously, even though we were figuring things out and making things work during COVID, the admin wasn't the same as it is when the gym is open. Don't have to worry about the gym floor being clean. Don't have to worry about as many class announcements or making sure that like all the equipment's up to knack. All those other little things that take up time just weren't there. So it was like, it was easier to think there was less to the job.
Right.
Yeah.
And then post-COVID, you come back into the gym, and then all of a sudden there's all these extra tasks that you're doing.
Exactly, right. And not only that, but my role evolved quite quickly here. So all of a sudden I'm going from just being like gym bitch / assistant to you guys while doing PT to stepping into more of like a manager role. So all of a sudden all those new responsibilities come in. I'm calling leads. I'm helping you with the IG at that stage, right? And the tasks just keep building up and building up and building up. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh, well, actually, the split of my time is probably more 20 to 30% coaching and 70% making sure that the gym is working the way it needs to work.
Yeah. Tell me again, you mentioned it, how much training are you doing these days per day?
2 to 3 hours.
Still pretty decent.
Still a substantial chunk, and it's not something I think I'll be doing for many more years.
Too much, man. You'd be up in the office with me.
I thought you'd come a bit further with it all, wouldn't you?
Yeah, yeah, I thought so, man, right? Like, you'd think I'd have more than a 10-second handstand by now.
Oh.
But no, like it's also something where now I'm not as sold to it either, right? Like if I'm having a session in the morning and then the workload increases, I'm not going to stay back late to do my second session. I'm going to do what I need to do in the office, and then it's like, okay, I'll go home. I know I'm going to get the training in throughout the week. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Do you have a dream, just, kind of side note, do you wish to return to the 6 to 8 hours of training a day? Is that an aspiration?
No.
No?
No, right? No.
Model life or some shit?
No, I'm good, man. I like, obviously we all love training, but it's only a certain aspect of this life, and I don't want to be a one-dimensional creature, right? Like I don't want to be the best movement dude who can do all the things but then has no idea how to run a business or has no relationships like the relationship I've got with you guys or my partner. And I think that's the path that leads you down, right? Like if all you're doing is focusing on training 6 to 8 hours, I'm sure you're going to have the best line ever and you're going to be able to do a killer ring routine, but you're probably not that interesting of a person.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree. You definitely sacrifice other things. And you know what I think on that's quite kind of fascinating. When you look at someone who is elite, you look at an elite mover and you're like, holy shit. Somewhere in your mind.
Looking at me now, bro.
Yeah,
I know
bro.
you're. Stop looking at me, but
God,
yeah.
Black dude. I'm like, somewhere in your mind, you think, man, imagine what it must feel to be that person. Like, imagine how good they feel. They feel strong, flexible all the time. But that's the same shit people think about when they see you doing whatever you do.
Yeah.
That you're doing your muscle ups or your ring routine. They're like, wow, imagine what it wakes. Imagine Paulie waking up every day feeling like a savage. And you're like, nah, man, I wake up kind of feel tired and a bit beat up. Like, yeah, like that's the life, It would be exactly the same for the people at the elite end, but we still, that sort of misconception still somewhere in your subconscious, isn't it?
Yeah.
So true.
Because that's sort of, I don't know, I feel like that's kind of what you're chasing. It's like this, it's almost like you become superhuman. It's like, you don't. You just acquire more skills that you can express when you're in the gym.
Yeah. It's like, have you ever had a conversation with like an investment banker or a rich dude, like a really rich dude?
No, let's say no.
I've had a couple like back in the old job and they'll be talking and it's like all they talk about is things to do with money because that's all that they're thinking about, right? Like it's like, and it's the same if you've got that high level mover. It's like, okay, we've talked about the gym for 15, 20 minutes now. What about like, what do you do on weekends? It's like, well, I train.
Get my training in.
Yeah, I got planche the handsets. It's like, okay, cool. Sweet.
It's true.
What else?
All right, so then, Paulie, I'm guessing, you got anything to add to that? I'm guessing it's kind of much of a muchness.
Yeah, pretty much what you said. Yeah, well, I didn't really come into it the same way that you did, but yeah, definitely I would say if I was telling someone who was stepping into this space, especially the young persons who are like, fucking training and all the leads will come to me, people are just going to get attracted because I'm becoming more of a beast. Yeah, you end up doing a lot more stuff off the ball than on the ball. It's like the same thing that comes with coaching. Coaching is a lot less to do with the movements, but the coaching itself, which I think is a misconception as well. Just, it's a bit imbalanced when you start coaching. Like, I need to know all the movements.
Give me the exercises.
All of the exercises, I need to know them properly. It's like, yeah. No, you just need to know the basic exercises really fucking well, and the rest is all in how you're coaching the person, the delivery of it and all that sort of stuff. Similar thing.
What about you, Joe? Because you came from a different path to me and Paul, because this was our first gym, but you did some PTs and stuff beforehand and would have had a better idea of what was involved with that side of things. Was it different or was it sort of what you expected it to be?
No, it's definitely different, but I was so naive back then, and because we were, because we were kind of building it from scratch, it was just, I was really oblivious to the realities of it. I kind of figured like, I don't know, be training all the time. It's going to be sick. I'm going to make heaps of money. I'm going to be cashed up in like, a couple of years, and then get coaches in, all that shit. And then, you realize, whoa, money's not like money. The money can be good, but it's not like, you're not Mr. Drippy at all.
Yeah.
It's way less about the training, way more about the business, all those same things that you said. But I think I was just more oblivious because I wasn't watching anyone doing it ahead of me.
Yep.
It's kind of funny to think that back then we didn't have any friends that owned gyms. We just embarked on this new industry and career kind of blind in a way.
I remember those days, Bondi Joe days, because I remember you had the office set up back past near the kitchen.
Yep.
And you had your desk there, and I remember seeing the anatomy posters. It was very cute.
I did too, yeah.
That's where you did all the study for this, and you were doing that while we were in the film industry.
Yep.
And you were studying his certs, Joey.
That's it. I'm like,
you were training kind of
mastering my craft.
You did CrossFit, and you knew. So yes, your mates from that time have gone on to own gyms, but didn't really know gym owners at that time, right?
No, yeah, and I would like Glenn. Yeah, he went on to own CrossFit Bondi, but I think it was the same for him. He opened that gym because he's like, I love CrossFit. I want to train all the time, so I'm going to open a gym. And then, I don't know, maybe he had it for 5 years or something.
Yeah.
But I think same shit, right? It wasn't what he thought it was going to be, All right, second piece. What's the other thing that's been like, you've realized is more important, or perhaps different to what your expectation was?
Yeah, this is going to sound really fucking obvious, but the value of communication. So that's like having the conversations that need to be had when they need to be had. And that's from everything from between me and Paulie, or me and Paul, to you and T as business owners, to the coaches, to even like other aspects of my life, like with my partner Anna. Everything to do with the gym that's happening in my life, making sure she understands what's going on, so she's not feeling like I'm not putting weight in at home and things like that as well. Just being real clear with the conversations you're having with people and making sure that people understand what's happening.
On the, I see that the relationship one, like with your romantic other, that's really significant.
Yeah,
I think about that like with my ex, Nikki, who kind of tried to keep the gym at an arm's length. And I always found that very challenging because she didn't really know what I was going through as a person trying to build this business. And so then it just, I mean, if your partner doesn't know what you're actually doing all fucking day and what's stressing you out and maybe what's keeping you up at night and shit, it's kind of hard to like, I don't know, like it doesn't seem like a healthy place for a relationship to be, does it?
Yeah, being in business and growing your own business, I think, and maybe it's just a business of this nature, because we're it speaks to all of our values as a person. So it's a real passion project. Yeah, I think it has to be part of your whole life. Yeah, absolutely. I've had those issues in the past too, but yeah, that's such a good point to make, hey, because when you're in business or growing a business, it's very different to just going and clocking in and clocking out of another job. It's all consuming, and in communicating with all the people around you is really important. The other aspect of it, I was going to say, is fucking communication. Team management. Not to jump off that topic too quickly, but team management is, I think, something that's really huge. And I think that happens in a lot of industries where someone might be really proficient at their job. Say they're in a corporate job and they're a fucking designer or whatever, and they get really good at design over 5, 6, 8 years, and then they get the promotion and it's like, boom, you're in management.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, big salary and it's a natural progress, but you have no management skills whatsoever. I think that changed decades ago. Corporations know that they have to upskill those people to get them in those roles. But shit doesn't happen really here. There's no one here doing that for you necessarily. But yeah, when you go into that management role, you hire someone else. It's like, yeah, that's a huge, huge thing that if you're not watching out for it, yeah, it's everything, because your one person business turns into two persons and then four persons, and a lot starts to ride on other people, and communicating with them well, being upfront, keeping people motivated with all expectations kind of laid out there is like a really important part of the job.
Yeah, it's setting the standard. It's making sure that people have a clear understanding of what your expectation is for them in that role before they're in that role. I think this is actually a big problem, even from when I used to work in sales and stuff, is you'd get people. The problem is you do a good job, you get rewarded, you get promoted, but they're not necessarily making sure you're ready for that promotion. They're making sure you're the best at the job that you're doing now. Right. So it's always at a fault. If you keep doing well, eventually you're going to reach a point where you're not qualified enough for that next role. And no one, because of the way society is going to say, nah, you know what, I don't want that pay increase, right? Because that's what it is. It's a promotion is a pay increase. Yes, the responsibilities increase, but it's also the only way that your wage can increase in most businesses. Whereas if we were to say, let's reward someone for doing a good job by giving them a pay increase, but maybe not increase the responsibility in certain aspects, it's like, okay, that's going to work a bit better. Yeah, it's interesting because no one turns down a promotion, right? Like, or very few people. It takes a special someone to say, I don't want that extra workload. I'm happy here.
Yeah, I suppose generally speaking.
Yep.
Interestingly, I feel like people say in our realm here, like who have worked in this gym,
yep,
are often inclined to be like, no, I'm good. Like I'm happy where I am, you know. But I can only imagine in that corporate environment that it's pretty much how you play the game.
Yeah, because it's a status thing too, right? Like, it is your status within the industry.
Post-COVID, lots of people, or in COVID, lots of people got promotions without pay too.
Did they?
Yeah, loads of people.
We'll give you the status, but not the cashola.
That's shit.
Yeah, or just people, or there were unrecognized promotions where it's like, hey, you're the so-and-so manager now and you've got all these things. It's like, oh, it's really cool, huh? Paycheck's still the same weight here. Yeah, lots of people copped lots of extra work over that time.
And so I guess the third facet of that communication piece is between business partners.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. You two,
so I
essentially
can personally say that on the weeks that me and Paul miss our Monday chat or don't have the chance to communicate with each other, they're the weeks that seem to be shit. 100%.
No.
Totally, dude. Like, this is the person that I get to spend. Apart from Anna, right? Like, Paul is the person that I spend the most of my time with. And we've got a relationship now where if something's going on, whether it's business or whether it's something at home, he's the person I talk to, and vice versa, because I know he's going to want to be across it because it's what affects me most and it's going to affect him too. But it's also like, if I'm dealing with something at work, he's the person that's going to be able to help me with it and actually give me advice on it too. And vice versa. Like, I know that if he's got an issue with something that he's doing and he's going to bring it to me, my opinion is going to be taken on. Whether or not he agrees with it, it's going to be something that's going to help him deal with that issue.
I love chatting with you too.
Yeah, bro.
No, you guys.
Yeah. But it is true though, those weeks where we always have the Monday meet.
Yeah.
You know, we don't really, we might have missed one if someone was away, but we always have it to some degree, but it's like, it's the rest of the week. If our schedules don't line up and then we're always just passing ourselves and like seeing each other every day, but not stopping to have like a
proper communication.
Yeah. Or if we're not working on a piece, we're like, hey, let's work together on this thing on Wednesday for an hour. Like, if we don't have any of that, the week seems very, well, first
incomplete.
of all, incomplete. You complete me. No, but I also don't, I have a uncertainty as to whether he's doing what we spoke about on the Monday and him the same with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, the accountability's out of whack, isn't it?
Yes, I'm like, oh, is he doing that or have I done that or what's going on? And often, you know, I'm occupying one half of the day just generally in the gym and he's doing the other half. So then I don't know really what's going on in that half of the gym that day. So yeah, without the communication and it being kind of frequent throughout the week, it can feel really, well, it's just the unknown. It's like when you're in a relationship and you're not talking about something, you start to imagine things, and it's just not healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you think that there'd be like, obviously it's not all for you guys, it's not necessarily logistically viable, but is there benefit to like getting together every day or a couple of times a week? Not for a large meeting, but do you think that those regular check-ins are super valuable?
100%. Yeah. Because like you can just update each other on the projects that you're working on. Like Paul said, it sets the other person at ease. They know that you're pulling your side of the weight and vice versa, so that they can keep moving forward with what they're doing. And also, let's say something isn't getting done, it's not going to build up to a point where it's like, oh, well, every time I see you, we're rushing, so I'm not giving you the feedback that I need to give you. It's just a quick like, oh, hey, how you going? Right? If I have that more often, deeper communication, we're going to bite this in the butt before it becomes that bigger issue, and then we end up having a blowout or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that you end up finding a groove with someone that you work closely with. So like I would say, yeah, we're in a good groove now, and we have an understanding, and he'll talk to me when he needs to, and I will the same. But like probably when you're starting out, you want to be kind of strict with that, because you want to build your reps and build your habits and have that time. You know, working together with someone for the first time can be awkward. And because it's a little bit awkward, it's inefficient. So like you want to be doing that all the time to start getting more efficient, more understanding. Our meetings are like quite short, now. Some topics we can pass on really quickly just because we have that understanding. So if you're starting out, high frequency I think works, where you're trying to get to somewhere where we're at now, where, we know each other intuitively. Other thing I'd say is like when if there's a project that's being worked on, like something that we're trying to put into the gym or something that we're changing, then frequency will go up. Like if it's something like attendance that we're trying to look at, we'll change the reports to be daily instead of weekly, and then the meetings will become more frequent as well.
Yeah, right.
So you'll find, I think over time it's something that gets worked on. Is like how you communicate and how you work with, that person, that business partner.
I think a warning for the younger, like for the people younger or earlier in the journey, when your business is smaller, it can seem kind of silly to have like a team meeting or a weekly meeting when you kind of think there's nothing to talk about and you've only got a handful of members and all that stuff. But it's so valuable to just treat your business like it is a big organization, and like all of those individual departments, sales, marketing, member retention, whatever, like they all are very important, because you're then setting a format that's in place when you are busier, aren't you?
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah.
And it's like, and the reality is shit's just as important at that early stage, perhaps more important.
Yeah.
You need to be checking in and keeping yourself, and whether it's maybe you don't have a business partner, but maybe it's with your head coach or, your second in charge or whatever, or maybe it's just with your partner who's not involved in the business with you, but they're your sounding board. I think, it's really important to have that at least weekly meeting in place.
I think that's such a good point. And I was kind of talking about that before with the meeting and having reports and stuff. I've encouraged the coaches here to have that with themselves or with another coach in the gym for their own PT business. But in the framework of having those meetings, having a report's really important. But also, like, to go into it a bit more, you have sales, marketing, retention, freaking services, and your offering and stuff like that. I think the agenda in that meeting is really important, because you just need to look over those things every week. Having a really good, thorough agenda is important. Like, even if half of them there's nothing to talk about, it's just that prompt to say, hey, this is one corner of your business that you need to be across all the time. Because usually, other than that, you'll just come in there and have a meeting that's just about what's most immediate that week. And usually it's just like sales and sessions and stuff like that. And before you know it, there's one whole corner of marketing or growth that you haven't been looking at all. That you need that in the front of mind, because in part you've got to be wearing the hats in the actual business, and then the other one is you need to be the general manager and the CEO who's looking out far and beyond. So yeah, I think that is a huge bit of advice to anyone starting out, is to set in place the meetings and have a really great agenda that looks across all aspects of your business. You kind of just got to look at them every week and, you know, take a note to them. Oh, these ones okay, actually. We spoke about that last week and it's on track. Move on to the next agenda. Yeah, huge for here.
Yeah. I think Paulie sort of touched on this with we know how to communicate with each other now, right? Because we've been doing this back and forth with just me and him for a while as well. But it's knowing the language that your partner is going to communicate to you in as well. And I'd be interested to hear. Love language. More like, okay, if I message them on WhatsApp, are they responsive there? Or are they more of like a face-to-face or a phone call person? Do they respond well to me talking in this tone of voice? Or do I have to take like this approach to them as well? What have you found it like? Because like obviously you've got JT and Bulletproof and you've worked with Paulie and T. Do you communicate differently between those people as well?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Big time.
Yeah, I thought so.
Got us all on a string.
In simple terms, I can communicate in a more carefree manner with T and Paul.
Yep.
JT is a bit more trigger happy. So I have to be a bit more cautious about how I word things.
Yeah.
And you know, I suppose also then with T and Paul, it's different between how I'd communicate with Paul. I can be a little bit more, probably just to the point. Whereas with T, I feel like it can lend itself to, there's more opportunity for us to misunderstand each other. So I have to be more specific about things. Whereas Paul, and maybe this is partly their personalities and mine, but also the fact that we're working here in the gym together still.
Yeah.
Versus T's up there. So, you know, he's not contextually, he doesn't know what's going on in my day as much.
Yeah.
Whereas there's things Paul just knows, you know. So yeah, it's always different.
What about with the alliance and with like taking on, obviously you're the main point of communication for a lot of these new guys hopping in. Is it like a clear path of communication that's similar for all of them? Or is it the same with like how you're talking to JT, Paul and T, a little bit different because they have different needs at the time or because they communicate differently?
It's the same, right? They're kind of like my gym members.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, and you're like, you know that member's like that member, you know, that one you can banter with, that one you can tease.
It's knowing
that
the
one you got to be a bit more gentle.
Yeah.
It's totally that.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that, you know, probably that's communication, isn't it?
Yeah.
Skills and, you know, human relations. And it's like, that's always a factor. I do think it's also easy to lose some of the niceties when you're communicating on a business level all the time with a friend. It can be very easy to lose some of the politeness that you might have with other, you know, people. It's like, hey man, how you going? Hey, I want to ask you about a thing versus I need you to tell me X. Like sometimes the latter is more efficient and appropriate, but if that's how your communication becomes constantly, you probably eroding something a little bit there, because it can be a bit irritating when so-and-so's always just asking you for shit or demanding whatever.
It's exactly why I always push the point of like the three of us meeting up and going to dinner every couple of months or doing something like that with the coaches for that exact reason. It's like, yeah, I love working with these people and we are like business partners and we're doing this thing together, and when we're here, it's work, but it's like, okay, I've chose to work with these people because I enjoy their company and I want to remind them that that's the case as well. So let's remove that from the situation and see if we can still just have a good time as friends as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good one. Easily overlooked.
Yeah.
There was a third point there that we discussed at the end, you know, before the show. What was that?
Hard work.
Hard work.
Hard work.
Yeah, bitch. WERK.
Yeah, I think a lot of fucking new coaches and people who want to own their own gyms come into the industry and they just think it's going to be like a ballpark. Like we said, I'm doing the training, I'm doing the thing, I'm learning how to do all the moves. Not realizing that at least at the beginning, you're going to have to fucking work, mate. There is a lot of hours that go into anything that we do here. And if you're not ready to work hard, you're not ready to own a business.
Unpaid hours. Oh. Hustle.
Yeah, so if you're listening to this and you're like, hey, is running a gym for me? My message would be, you are not ready. No, it's ridiculous hard work, isn't it?
Absolutely.
characteristic, I would say, of small business generally. It's
Yeah.
a fucking slog, and I think you cannot truly appreciate it until you're in it.
100%. That is the case, right? Like, I've always thought I was a hard worker and that if I was like put to the task, I'll do the task. But the difference between being put to the task for a company where you're there, I'm there, 9 a.m., cool, I work as hard as I can, 5 p.m., I go home, my day's off. I go to the gym and do whatever I've got to do, to, nah, this is my business. Let's talk 6 a.m. to 8 p.m., all right? Like, or you are working the whole day that you're awake.
And your paycheck doesn't reflect it.
No, it does not, right? Because there's no such thing as an hourly wage. Like,
Yep.
even if you're getting paid by the hour, your headspace has been taken up. Even if you leave all your work here in the gym, there is no way you're not thinking about it when you're at home, because this is your baby. This is the thing that you're putting all your time and all your energy into making sure succeeds. And it's not going to succeed if you have that 9 to 5 mentality with it, right? Like, that's not to say once you get it up and running, you can start to take some of that load off, help spread it with your employees and everything like that. But you need to accept the fact that while you're building this beast, you're going to have to do more than a 9 to 5.
It's like you said, like you can go in and do the tasks that they give you and go fucking hard at it. But in this job, you've got to come up with your own tasks.
Yeah.
It's like trying to program the fucking nastiest Metcon for yourself. It's like, you know, are you going to fucking go hard on those movements that you're weak at, like, you know, or the things that are going to get the most growth? Or, you know, are you going to just make it easy for yourself? Well, you're not going to get anywhere. And fuck, you have to be kind of consistent day in and week out to like make those Metcons hard all the time and give yourself a whole bunch of shit to do, and then you got to go do it. Yeah, it's a different breed, I would say. I was chatting to my brother about it last night, Eddie, and he was just like, I do not envy you, bro. He's got a government job. He's like, I don't envy you, ever. I was like, I love it, man. I love it.
I think that's the other point to be said, right? Like, yeah, it's hard work, but I've never enjoyed my life more than I do right now, right? Like, I just got married. I'm in a good relationship with my partner. Everything's good there. All day I get to come and hang out with the people I truly enjoy being around. And even though I'm working a lot, it's working towards things that are important to me and match my values, or that I enjoy to do, right? That I get to personally challenge myself the right level, because I'm doing things that are probably just a little bit out of my reach and getting better at them because of it. And I've got badass humans who have similar views and want the same thing surrounding me all day. Like, there is nothing more I could ask for, except for an extra 10K a week.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
And some JB tracky pants this winter.
Tracky pants for
Yeah,
winter.
maybe some woolen socks. Deal with this concrete slab. I think it's important to mention, like, the hard work thing. The goal is to cop that for a period.
Yeah.
But then get to a horizon where you can back off on the unsustainable output that you've been, you know, doing for the last couple of years. Settle into something that's more balanced, and you can be rewarded financially for it.
Yeah.
Like, that's really what we're all trying to get to, isn't it? I think the problem is when you get into that hard work thing and then there's just no end in sight, and you're like, holy fuck, I've been doing this for, you know, and we've been doing this, right? With the gym and with the Alliance. It's like, you're like, oh man, when's that day come when the business is just stable and I'm getting paid and, you know, we're good? Because if you are in that constant stage of growth, that horizon doesn't come, I would say.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's kind of, I don't know, the growth is the part where you have to, like, you got to sprint almost.
You could say that the horizon never comes, but like there is a very steep climb at certain times.
Which is why I think it's like...
The horizon has to come.
It's got to come.
Has to.
You'll get to a horizon.
I mean,
You
the
realise there's
horizon,
another one.
the horizon came for us when we were about 4 years into the gym business and we decided to pay ourselves $2K a week,
Yeah.
right?
Tell us more about that.
Shit was awesome. We're like, this is great. We're plush, you know, just working, like, you know, doing what we need to do. And then like 12 months later, the accountant said, hey, you guys are about to go bankrupt. You're paying yourselves too much.
Yeah, tell
And
me.
we're like, okay. So we've been living a lie, you know, but that was a taste of, hey, this is where you want to get to, you know, where it's like, okay, you can only get to that point when you're actually at that point. You can't just will that point to be here now.
Jesus.
and rip money out of the business.
Yeah.
That was, long story there, but we took some bad advice from a coach at the time. But it's like, yeah, you can get to that point of balance. And I think like that's really like, that should be the goal of any small gym owner or business owner. Well, doesn't have to be the goal. If you don't want to get there, that's fine. But it should be on your timeline that there is a point that comes where you can be paid for what you're doing. You're not busting your ass every single day, and you have time to do the other things in life that you want to do while also enjoying running your business.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a business in an industry that you enjoy, and it's something that you're proud of. It's given you agency and lifestyle in your life and stuff like that, and a form of expression. Like, obviously, those things are the reason why you choose this path in the first place. But yeah, it's not hard work forever.
No, it's the evolution of the gym too, right? Like, as the gym does better and you take on new coaches and they're ready to step into new roles, that's going to free up space for you to do less, right? And that should be a perpetual cycle. As they do better, they take on more. You can step out a little bit to the point where you're still having a vital part to play in the business, but you're less involved in the day-to-day running, and it can sort of become self-sufficient. And then hopefully this is the purpose of the alliance, right? Like, as those coaches get better at what they're doing, the ones below them are also getting better at what they're doing. They go open up their own gyms or start their own story, and it's just perpetually building up. And you're sitting there in your role, or you decide that's not the horizon and you go on to the next business that you want to
Choose your own horizon from there.
That's right. It's the gym owner machine.
Ooh.
Good chat, fellas. Thank you.
Thank
Bush. Been a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it has, hasn't it?
you. Yeah, very long while.
Yeah, I say this a lot, but actually it makes me think of a podcast. So remember I told you I started listening to that email automation podcast?
Yeah.
Yes. Secrets.
Yeah. And the guy was like, "Hey guys, his name's Borsch or something. He's maybe Scandinavian or Eastern Euro. Can't quite tell." But he's like, "Hey, it's Borsch here. Welcome to," and it's got like the big intro music and the "Hey DJ, cue the music," and like cool intro and "Hey guys, Borsch here. First episode today. I'm going to be talking," and it's like, "Wow, this podcast's sick. I can see all the episodes." So I listened to the first one, really liked it, and then I got through that. It was about 30 minutes, and then put the second one on, and he's like, cue the intro music, DJ, boom, intro music, bam, 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 things on. And he's like, "Hey guys, this is Borsch here." So it's been about 18 months since my first episode, and I was like, "Oh shit." And he's like, "Things got really busy with my ad agency, blah, blah, blah." But anyway, I'm here today. I'm going to tell you what I've learned in the last 18 months. And I was like, "Okay, cool." Got to the third episode and he's like, "Hey guys, so a bit of time since my last episode." He said, it's the best line. He said, "It's been a while since my last first episode."
Oh my God.
But I was like, fuck, that's just classic podcasting.
Yeah.
Where you're like, you sound super professional. People are like, "Wow, this thing is sick." And then you disappear for 12 months. I disappeared for a couple of weeks here and there. It's been, it hasn't been that long for a while.
It's been years.
It's been years.
Yeah, man. It's
been years.
years. I know when we first started, it was very like here and there.
Yeah.
And then at a point, Joey put his foot down and was like, "Guys, this is what I think we need to do. We need to go high frequency to get better at it quicker." And all of that shit. And then the rest was history. It was good.
Yeah. Has become easier as a result of that.
Yeah.
But like any marketing piece, it's easy to just not do it, right?
Yeah.
You got a busy week and you're like, sitting down for a chat, we'll do it next week.
But it's also like you said, like looking from the outside, if you hadn't listened to that episode, you would have just seen this like catalog of episodes and assumed that he'd been consistent, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, because you don't look at the date
And
that
you
it's been
think it looks like a
released.
business. I'm
Exactly.
like, he probably gets paid to do that podcast.
Exactly, right? And now that you've been consistent, that's the JB podcast.
Yes.
Someone from the outside's just like, "Oh man, they must do this perfectly on time all the week," until they listen to this episode just now and they're like, "Oh, a bunch of slackers."
What episode are we up to?
This is 183.
183.
Yeah, dog.
Not bad.
Not bad, eh?
2 hundo coming up.
Thanks, fam. Appreciate you listening. By the way, Coaches Intensive is coming up at the end of this month. If you are interested in becoming a world-class coach, you should probably come and do this 2-day course run here at the gym, facilitated by myself, Dylan, Paul, and other members or other coaches of the JB crew. Get in touch with me, Joey at junglebrothers.com, and we can talk about it. And yes, there is a special price if you are a listener of the podcast.
Ooh.
Come at me. See you next week.
Later, fam.